Hey guys, it's Extreme Strategy here, and today I am going to be doing a guide on Kairos Fateweaver. And what we're going to be discussing is the spells, items, abilities, strengths, and weaknesses that Kairos Fateweaver has. And for the first three, we're going to be demonstrating it here in this battle. So, let's get this started. Alright, and since the clash is about to begin, we're going to drop Harmonic Convergence on my Forsaken of Tzeentch. And then we're going to drop Regrowth on the other batch. Then we're going to go over here, we're going to pop the Reserves ability and the Recharge one. And the Recharge one can be dropped on any spellcaster, but can't be dropped on yourself. And then lastly, for this first battle, we are going to be dropping Penendral Pendulum, which has been rebalanced by CA. So that way it is not an overpowered hack and slash spell, but still does a ton of damage, as you can see right there. The next spell we'll be discussing is Tzeentch's Firestorm. Now, the reason that this one's going to get its own separate battle is just because of the bizarreness of it. It summons in 3 smaller spells, each one of which goes out, and then just kind of cuts in a random direction. There's really no rhyme or reason to this spell, and I will discuss it more in depth in my Tzeentchian spell guide. Next up, we're going to be discussing the lore and items that Tzeentch can use in one-on-one combat. We're going to be using a Herald of Khorne on a Blood Juggernaut, and we're actually going to wait until he's outside of the forest. Alrighty, so there's several things that you can do in single combat. So you have the Gaze of Fate, which is a melee attack minus 40 and cannot move. You also have an Oracle of Eternity damage resistance plus 44%. You have the Blue Fire of Tzeentch, and then if you need to buff yourself some more, you have Harmonic Convergence and Regrowth. Now, the combination I'm going to suggest here is drop the Gaze of Fate first, so that way the entity cannot move, especially if you're faster than they are. Yep, so now that he's caught, take the Blue Fire of Tzeentch and hit him with that. This will do a ton of damage to said entity, if the actual projectiles can hit. And then you could decide to engage in melee combat. However, I very rarely would recommend actually doing so, due to the fact that Tzeentchian units are terrible in melee. Now let's get on to the strengths and weaknesses of Kairos Fateweaver. So if you look at the stats of Kairos Fateweaver, you'll notice that he is not cut out for combat himself. This is because he is actually meant to play a more supportive role. The spells that he can cast, especially Penendral Pendulum, are excellent against tearing apart melee enemies. What this means is that against enemies like Khorne, he will excel because he can literally take a spell, swing it across as the enemy's charging in, and then let it rip and just do tons of damage with it. He also has all of the support spells that you wouldn't expect inside of a support lord. However, if you ever do decide to engage him into combat, it is generally a good idea to drop Oracle of Eternity and Harmonic Convergence on himself. The Glean Magic spell that I really haven't covered, it's not a very important spell that you will be using. Only bring this if you're fighting against other Tzeentchian factions. It's an anti-magic spell. Anyway, as you can see, his barrier is taking some damage just from some Chaos Warriors of Khorne, and they are Chaos Warriors of Khorne, so they have terrible stats, and he's not doing very well against them. So just keep that in mind, that his position is a support role and not a melee role. And then lastly, we're going to be discussing the worst case possible scenario, and this is taking Kairos and sticking him against anti-large ranged. And the reason for this is Kairos Fateweaver has an armor of 50, so that means that armor piercing is going to be basically worthless against him. However, anti-large, like the Streltsy have, actually, no, Streltsy are armor-piercing, but any amount of projectiles is going to do a high amount of damage to Kairos Fateweaver, as we're about to demonstrate here, if they can ever shoot. So now that I've swung them around, they're able to get some shots off, and in one single volley, this is how much damage they've done. They have obliterated his barrier, and they are doing tons of damage to him, and he is about to die. Yeah, he's going down. He is down. So never stick Kairos Fateweaver against a ton of ranged. It will never end well due to his size. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe. Go check out the Discord server and Facebook page. Links to both those in the description below. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.